It was something I could have mentioned last week, but I forgot to. Just catching up on NXT, and it was just a funny observation about the technical side of things, which is we talked about how we always talk about how it's funny that the post takeover NXTs they shoot them film them in the same arena before takeover, so they have to do this funny pretense that we're back in the same huge arena. A few nights later, War Games is especially funny because we're back in the same arena with the double ring for some reason. We really like it. But then it was extra funny because the week after's NXT, they're like, "Oh, we're from San Jose," and it's like, "Wait a second, weren't they in San Jose before Takeover?" And I double checked, and yes, 2 nights before. So we were going back in time.
Yeah, to before the Takeover taping.
Yeah, so like the NXT episode right after Takeover was filmed before Takeover, and then the next NXT episode was filmed before that. So it's just, and I'm not like, haha, I got you, because it's just a technical thing. And, of course, TV shows are always shot out of sequence movies, too. It's like they might shoot the final scene first. Just on wrestling, it's different. With WWE specifically, they never do that. With NXT, they do, because it's just a different situation. They film 4 episodes as it is of NXT in one night at Full Sail. But it was just interesting for me to see how they pulled that off. Now, of course, they use the commentators to do a lot of the heavy lifting, so the commentators can give this context that Keith Lee and Lars Sullivan have unfinished business from the last episode of NXT, even though that hasn't happened yet in real life,
Oh, here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Did the people in attendance at this taping get spoiled about Ciampa, actually, I've always wondered how to say it, but he says Ciampa. He himself says Ciampa. Defeated Velveteen at TakeOver.
No, because that wasn't dealt with on no one. Ciampa didn't come out until this week's NXT, which was back at Full Sail. The one thing that they did where I was like, oh, this is just a nice little careful phrasing was EC3 did when his like post match thing, he said something like Undisputed Era, while you're nursing your wounds from War Games, but I want Bobby Fish. And it was in a way where he wasn't giving away that Undisputed Era lost necessarily, because even if they won, they you could presume they would come out of War Games injured. So that was funny, because if you watch it on TV, contextually you're like, oh, because they lost. But for people in San Jose watching this 2 days before TakeOver, he was just calling them out for, after War Games is over, this is what I want to happen. So anyway, that was just my little observation on the technical side of NXT, and I thought that was funny that I wanted each episode to go back in time further, It's like,
just keep going back,
This was filmed 5 months ago. Like, then it'd be like awesome because it's like intricately plotted.
Well, then you don't ever know what you're going to see when you show up to a taping. It's like,
right.
Some sort of weird future episode. It always is. Let's see.
And I've told you. I know I've told this before, even on the podcast. But what is funny when you go to NXT taping is because they're filming a month of episodes in one night. Is you power through storyline without any of the backstage segments. So the really funny example I know I've told is Samoa Joe when he kept attacking different wrestlers and demanding a rematch with Shinsuke. It's like we watched that. Once an hour for 4 hours, Samoa Joe would come out and attack someone else, whereas this is going to air over a month of like this is an ongoing thing. But it made it very fun for the people in Full Sail to await that Joe attack every hour.
Well, now I'm glad he's found a new career as a bartender and things have sort of calmed down for him rage-wise.
He doesn't have to attack once an hour anymore.
He just has to clean up the bar if there's some rough behavior, some ruffians. That's it. I'm going to close out this podcast, Eric, with an email from Oscar from Long Beach, California, Eric, not far from you. Or if you're Snoop Dogg or Sublime, the LBC. He writes in, DDT is known as the promotion where wrestlers fight giant inflatable pandas. This is a promotion, Eric, called DDT.
This is a real thing?
Yeah. Giant inflatable pandas go to the mountains and wrestle in the rivers and kayaks. He included a video you should watch of Sami Zayn fighting Ibushi. They're both in kayaks going down a river, and they're hitting each other. And having made Joey Ryan infamous, for his penis plex and all that, his power of the penis, the promotion DDT is coming to America during WrestleMania weekend. If we had money and time, would we go? I would say yes. If it doesn't conflict with anything.
Well, of course, I'm sorry. Continue what you're gonna say.
No. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna specifically do in New York. Is somebody gonna wrestle on a rooftop, or like how do you watch this? Because the Sami Zayn thing is a video that I could watch. I don't know that I could be there in person.
Yeah, I cough, and then I say that this is the first I'm learning about any of this, but I'm not against it, you know. But I will say, of course, realistically speaking, we never have time to go to these other things during WrestleMania week, even though there's ones that sound like even this past year, you know. What was there was it a Ring of Honor show was at the same time as TakeOver, right?
Well, so we can turn this into news. Oscar wants to know our thoughts on comedy wrestling. I think you and I are both for it. I think we enjoy it because we like laughter. We just talked about Clue earlier. We clearly love comedy, especially when somebody steps in dog poop.
Yes.
Which I think could be a match at DDT. The TakeOver for WrestleMania, Eric, is on Friday now.
Oh, they went back to Friday.
Yeah. So how it sort of originally started before it moved to Saturday and Hall of Fame got displaced.
Yeah.
I think they went back to the opposite. I don't know if it has anything to actually do with the Ring of Honor show from MSG on Saturday Night Live. You know, so
that's interesting because it felt to me like, you know, switching it showed you how elevated TakeOver had become, right? Like now it really felt like this is such a big deal that, you know, we're going to go right in because it's clearly a bigger deal than Hall of Fame as for just being of the now and whatnot. So there's got to be some specific,
I don't know if it's an ROH issue, if it's a Hall of Fame issue, like it had to be done on Saturday night for some reason.
Right.
Or if if it's all of these things and they wanted an extra day between TakeOver and WrestleMania so that people will shut the F up about like how will WrestleMania ever live up to this awesome TakeOver, which is the messaging. This is our takeaway from every TakeOver.
Sure.
So yeah, but anyway, that's news. That's since you and I are both going, we'll basically we'll have to adjust accordingly. But we're both there before Friday, so it's fine.
Yes.
Anyhow, thanks for listening, everyone. Let's see. Yeah, next week will be a preview for TLC. And then we'll see how our holiday schedules match up. I do feel like we'll probably just, depending on how dead wrestling is for 1 week, maybe do a year-long sort of wrap-up type deal. Like, look at the year that was in WWE. We'll see how that all plays out. I anticipate us taking a week off.
It's quite possible.
I'll just say that.
Quite possible,
right?
Yeah.
So you all can either dread that or look forward to it, depending on how you feel about our podcast. I feel like if you've listened to the end, though, you kind of like us. So thank you, everyone, and everything is possible, but nothing is real, and Shakma.
Shakma.
We're gonna die! We're gonna die! I'm going to throw up, and then I'm gonna die!
We enjoy wrestling.